Mine just kind of sitting in frame. I just want to see what it looks like. Oh, shit.
Where do you want me to move?
This chair is... the hell? This is a fucked up chair. Okay. I'm going to push the table closer to you. Yep. Great. Okay. Here we go. And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to a very special live edition of Rewind-A-SmackDown.
Wait, this is the peak of our social lives coming together. Here we are on a Friday night. It is 11 p.m., and this is the experiment of all experiments. This is like our Tuesday in Texas, where we're coming back to do a pay-per-view on a Tuesday night, and we're going to see how many people are interested in hearing us live on a Friday night, which I imagine the majority of you are probably listening to us over the weekend. But hey, no matter when you're listening, thank you.
The majority, but you know what? Those very special ones out there. I mean, I could certainly relate. You know, not staying at home, watching wrestling on a Friday night, and then listening to a podcast afterwards. That was many a Friday for me. So, hello to all of you. Actually, a pretty wide number of people that are sticking around on a Friday night to do this.
I was expecting none. So
we have several people. I want to give some shout outs in the chat room right now. Hey, Eric Marcotte, what's up? Andrew Nohadera, a first timer from what I can see, and also Mendoza. Nice to see all of you. And as more of you chime in, I want to give some more shout outs.
Is the Twitter criminal there? Brandon from New Jersey?
I don't see him at the moment.
Has he been banned from everywhere?
Maybe his internet.
Can you bring me up to speed? What has happened?
I have no clue. I've just somebody. It was Neil actually who tagged us, informing us that all of a sudden Brandon from New Jersey has been banned from Twitter.
Now, was he put maybe in Twitter jail where you tweet too much and they put you in jail? I've heard of this.
What?
Yeah, have you never heard of this?
No, I have not. Like spamming will get you banned.
It's never happened to me, obviously, but. I don't know all the particulars, but I've heard of this happening to people where they get shut out for 2 days. I'm sure he'll be back.
I would hope so. I mean, yes, no matter what you guys might think of our relationship with Brandon, I do feel like he is definitely a unique part of the social media experience. So I hope they unban him. Free Brandon from New Jersey.
Yes. Unban Brandon.
Yeah.
This is the best you're getting out of me on a Friday night way. All right, on tonight's show, we're going to be getting to your phone calls a little later on. We'll also be doing a preview of the Royal Rumble. We'll get some of our thoughts on the show that's coming up Sunday. We can also run through the Worlds Collide show. But mainly, we'll be focusing on tonight's shows. We had competing events. So Wai is going to take us through SmackDown. And Wai, you came over to my place, and it was late enough that this NWA pay-per-view ended so early, I watched all of SmackDown.
Seriously?
I've watched both.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's
so
great. What time did it end?
Dude, NWA was off the air by 9:30.
Oh, wow.
And you got here around 9 to start watching SmackDown. Yeah. We watched in separate rooms, and so while I was waiting, I watched all of SmackDown, so I'm all caught up.
That's wonderful.
So Wai will take us through SmackDown. I'll chime in, and then I'll take everyone through the NWA Hard Times pay-per-view. So a very packed edition of Rewind-A-SmackDown.
Very packed, and a very packed chat room at the moment, too. Hello, John Taylor, Raymond Terry, Cal E. Coyote, Christopher Rampersaud, Rich Anthony, Hunter Buniger, and Adam Tersini. There are a lot of people that we don't usually see in the chat room, so hello to all of you.
Well, very cool. Let's start off. Let's do one final mention here of the Royal Rumble pool.
Yes.
People still have the weekend to submit their picks, but the deadline is Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So get all of your picks in. It is free to join, and the winner or winners will be announced Wednesday on Rewind-A-Dynamite.
I mean, after this edition of SmackDown, you pretty much have all the info that you need.
Yes.
You're not really going to get that much of a leg up on the competition.
Well, I will say that there was a major, I thought, significant detail in a total throwaway moment on SmackDown.
Is that right?
I will see if you even caught. I would imagine most missed it, but my trained eye did catch it.
Okay.
So the Royal Rumble pool, it's open now. postwrestling.com/Rumble. I've come over to the //.
Forward slash?
Forward slash.
What's back? What's a back? The backslash is the other one.
Who knows? We had a long discussion about this. So that's open. Some news just to go through. This news just came down Friday night, so we'll probably have more on this this weekend on the site. But Chris Wilson, who wrestled for years as Justice Payne, he was most synonymous with CZW, and the older brother of Nick Gage passed away. Not aware of any details. He was 41 years old, had 2 young daughters. So a very, very sad story in that respect as well. But someone that, if you were following, especially CZW during the late 90s, early 2000s, he was a regular, prominent name, won their heavyweight championship 5 different times, did do dates as well with XPW, and then was retired by the end of 2007. So he hadn't been wrestling for well over a decade, but no additional details, at least at this point, about his passing. But he was just, I believe, like 2 years older than Nick Gage, so just very unfortunate, especially for those that would be familiar with him in the Northeast independent scene throughout that time period.
It's terrible.
Brian Cage posted a video update on everything that's going on with him. He stated that his deal is up with Impact Wrestling, but he has not signed with anybody yet. He said he has gotten offers from many different places, but unfortunately, he's got this major roadblock, which is a torn bicep, and he is going for surgery on Monday. And he threw out the estimate of around 6 months that he could be out, but he is hopeful that he's going to be back before that time frame, that he can heal quicker. But pretty much in this video, just alluding that it just sounds like, man, he had a lot of offers on the table, and he's optimistic that he'll have those offers once he's healthy, which I would imagine he will. I can't imagine any companies not having that same interest in him, however many months it is. But certainly a setback for him that this happens right as his contract's coming due, and seemingly having multiple offers on the table.
For sure.
Where would you see him fitting in best? Like we know about, it seems like AEW is certainly one of those, but in terms of Brian Cage, where he is right now in his career, is there a particular destination that would be above the other options?
Well, I think he would be a strong asset in any company. I certainly see him fitting well in AEW, but I actually see him fitting really well in NXT as well. I think NXT especially, I feel like AEW kind of has their share of really big guys, and as does NXT, but I almost feel like you can go a little bit further if you're within that WWE system looking like a Brian Cage.
Mm-hmm. He indicated that he did have an offer from Impact to stay. They did try to keep him. How aggressive do you think Impact is going to be when it comes to talent coming due? And what's going to be a really interesting one this year is obviously Tessa Blanchard.
Mm-hmm. I could see them being pretty aggressive with Tessa. With Brian Cage, I'm sure they would. They I don't know. You would probably consider
he was a top guy there.
Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know if anybody is that big of a difference maker for Impact. At least I don't necessarily see Brian Cage being a name. Like, we heard in the past, like, them offering somebody like a Chris Jericho a lot of money. I think Chris Jericho is a difference maker. I don't necessarily feel that way with Brian Cage.
Yeah. And it's a very interesting time now that even as you look at, obviously, WWE and AEW are going to be scooping up as much talent as possible, or at least ones that make the most sense. But now, like, Ring of Honor, clearly, if it's the right talent, they're going to open the purse strings for. Impact, when you think of all the money they have put into Impact, mm-hmm. you would think that talent is going to have a significant budget out there. Like this, they're outside of maybe like the peak of the Monday Night Wars. Like, when has talent had like these viable options if you are a commodity? Like, mm-hmm. it just seems like even companies that you look on the surface and doesn't make sense for a Ring of Honor to be spending this money, they are. So it's great to have all these options for these different performers.
I wonder how long it'll last.
That's the other part, is that the money you put in, eventually you have to make this money back, unless you're just looking at this as, if you're Impact or Ring of Honor, that this is simply, these will be loss leaders for your parent companies, mm-hmm. Of how they view this at the end of the year and beyond. One match that I want to get your thoughts on, Wai. We're getting all the WrestleMania week announcements, fast and furious, and Black Label Pro is running a show. I believe this is on the Thursday night at midnight. I could be mistaken. But we are going to get the match that no one knew they wanted to see until it was announced. Filthy Tom Lawler versus Haku.
I'm sure that it would be awesome. Yeah, I didn't even know Haku was still wrestling. But I feel like you'll probably see some of Tom's more comedic chops coming out and some real chops as well. So I look forward to that one. Yeah.
That is.
How does Haku look these days as a wrestler?
I mean, we've seen him. He was in the New Japan Rumble a few years back. I mean, and I think he did like some of the U.S. shows with New Japan. So I mean, he can do a match with Tom Lawler. That audience is just going to eat up. It's actually the Friday night, April 3rd at midnight in Ybor City, Florida, at the Cuban Club. So. And Wai, as you've been navigating Ybor City, it sounds like not a cheap place to go.
It's a little pricey.
Yes.
The hotel situation this year.
It's not a cheap place to go. But anyway, we are navigating that ourselves. And Impact also announcing for their TNA Nostalgia show, Ken Anderson and D'Lo Brown as their Aces and Eights characters.
Oh, okay. So at least there's some representation from Aces and Eights.
Yes.
So two of the Eights. Were there actually 8 people in the Aces and Eights, or was it just a name?
They had quite a lot. I think they were over 8 at some point, if I'm not mistaken. They're definitely not getting Gallows. Bully Ray, I guess, is possible. They could get him.
Bully Ray,
Wes Briscoe.
Devon was in there. Wes Briscoe.
Do you
get Garrett Bischoff?
Garrett Bischoff, maybe. Yeah, he just disappeared after Impact.
Oh my goodness.
Do you think
Claire Lynch?
Oh my God.
Please.
I don't know if she would come back.
I believe her name was like Julia.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Do you think this Impact show, this nostalgia show, is going to are they going to fill this place for Impact?
I think didn't they fill it last year just having a straight up Impact card?
They did well last year in New York.
I think there's enough buzz that they will do pretty well.
It seems like it's a kind of concept show that I do feel that it's weird. Like I have a bad read on like TNA, like doing a TNA nostalgia of the mid 2000s. I think would be really cool, but that talent isn't around. And it's like Aces and Eights. It's like, I don't know if that's really drawing me in, but maybe I'm not the target audience. That there will be people that it's been long enough that this is considered like campy fun.
Well, yeah, I think if you're a TNA fan, you love the good and the bad of TNA. You know, for all the great like P.D. Williams, Elix Skipper, types of matches, we might see those guys. I look back at like stuff like Claire Lynch and stuff like that with almost just as much fondness,
And another thing on Ken Anderson, I'll get into this in the pay-per-view. He did not appear at the pay-per-view tonight. He was scheduled for the TV title tournament, and all they said was that he was not medically cleared. And I have reached out to several people to get an update and if he was going to be at the tapings this weekend, and I have not heard back from anybody. But that was a notable absence on the pay-per-view, and that was the reason given on the broadcast regarding Anderson. And the final news item, I just wanted to make some mention here of Hercules Ayala, who passed away a couple of days ago. He was 69 years old, and he was a guy that I certainly knew the name, but just researching him this week, I found it to be like what an interesting career this guy had. He was born in Puerto Rico, and then his mother ended up moving to Boston and then sent him a ticket, and he eventually left Puerto Rico and went to Boston, and that's where he was trained by Angelo Savoldi. He started in the early 70s. He worked on some WWF undercards, and then ended up going to a variety of places. It was in Germany. He met up with Bret Hart and Tom Billington. They got him into Stampede Wrestling, where he had a very long run, but and he went other places. He went to Montreal, to the Maritimes, but his big fame occurred in Puerto Rico, where he first went there as a babyface to WWC, and then it was in the mid-'80s when he turned heel on Carlos Colon that he became one of the biggest heels in the company. And there's actually quite a bit of this that you can find on YouTube, like his matches with Carlos Colon. They had, the barbed wire matches. They had a fire match. But one of the big angles they did, they started feuding around 87. And then in 88, they shot this huge angle where, and I posted this in the obit on the site that you can watch. You should totally watch this. They're at this awards banquet, like this formal thing, and they're about to announce, I guess it's like the Wrestler of the Year. It's some kind of award that they're giving out. And they're doing the dramatic, and the winner is, and Ayala he's standing up, he's getting ready to accept the award, and they announce the winner, Carlos Colon. And it's very much like that Sid That's when they did the Royal Rumble and they were about to announce the contender and Sid's getting ready to accept it. And then they announced Hogan. So Carlos Colon gets up to the podium. He's doing this speech and then he thanks his wife, Nancy, who is there with him. And Hercules Ayala gets up onto the stage. They're all in their tuxedos and it ends up in this big skirmish and he knocks over the wife. And Carlos is then tending to the wife, and it's this big pull apart, and it was just like this intense angle. And it eventually culminated with a loser leaves town match in January of '89 that Carlos Colon won. But he was, for a time, like the big heel there. He was also there at the time that Bruiser Brody died in 1988. Just a really interesting career, and probably someone that not everyone is as familiar with, but just had quite a big career, especially in Puerto Rico. So he passed away this past week, and just a very interesting man to read about this past week. So
John has that obit, as he mentioned, on postwrestling.com. So
yeah, and I included like a bunch of the matches too, just to see, especially the heat that they would get in Puerto Rico. That was what they lived off of, was like big angles to get, and big brawling. And Ayala was a huge part of that scene, especially in the mid to late 80s. So all of your news you can go find at postwrestling.com. We've got a big weekend coming up on Saturday night. Braden and Davey are here with the Worlds Collide post show. Sunday morning, Royal Rumble Day kicks off with W.H. Park and Martin Bushby, as they're going to be chatting Jushin Thunder Liger, Shinjiro Otani from March of 97. And the BWE crew just put together an awesome show. They've gotten a lot of compliments for this, looking at the decade of the 2010s on the European scene. And this was a great show.
Those guys have been on a roll over the past several months, really. So continued success for the BWE. Do check that out.
And then Sunday night, it's us.
It's us, yeah, with Mike Murray, actually.
Mike Murray will be with us, and we're going live on Sunday night. So double Ice Cap Espresso patrons, you can tune in about 15 minutes after the end of the Royal Rumble. We'll be going live, rundown of the show, phone calls, all that great stuff. So hope you join us on Sunday.
And if you're in the chat room right now, a lot of you guys in there right now, we'll be taking phone calls for this show at the end of both reviews as well. So please just stay away from your phones and just sit back and join the chat room and interact with everybody before we get the phone calls.
All right. Wai, why don't you take us through SmackDown?
SmackDown comes from Dallas, Texas today. And
interesting. This is the first one in a long time where one of the big four, they're not doing the 4 straight nights in a city. They're in Dallas tonight, San Antonio Monday, and it's just the 2 in Houston.
Interesting. All right. So we got, starting us off on this show is Roman Reigns teaming up with the Usos, taking on Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, and Roode, Bobby Roode, whatever you want to call him. And it starts off kind of with a pretty significant spot where Jimmy Uso is back body dropped over the corner and onto the apron, where he slips awkwardly onto the floor. Dolph Ziggler drives Jimmy Uso's head into the post, but this entices the referee to call for help from the back as they take Jimmy Uso out of the match. Jay is heard screaming, "His head, man! Check his head, Us!" So we get a commercial
break. It turned out to be his leg. Dr. Uso.
It's the head, they say, is connected to many parts. Maybe the head triggered the leg, or vice versa.
Dr. Us, yes. So now it's a 2-on-3, and a lot of really good teases for Roman's hot tag as they put the heat on Jay. Finally get the hot tag to Roman Reigns as Baron Corbin tags himself out immediately. Roman unleashes on Dolph Ziggler. Great reaction to Roman Reigns from this crowd. As Roman is about to spear, Baron Corbin distracts him, sets him up for a Dolph Ziggler super kick for 2. The heels continue beating up on Roman Reigns. A glorious DDT is countered into a powerbomb from Reigns, but this time, Dolph Ziggler pulls Jay off the apron to prevent that hot tag. So Roman stops the Ziggler super kick with a Superman punch, but Jay's still knocked out. But up on the ramp is a returning Jimmy Uso hobbling down on one leg. He takes Roman's hot tag and does a suicide dive with one bad leg, takes out the entire heel team with one bad leg. Roman takes Corbin into the crowd as they brawl out of the arena to promote their Falls Count Anywhere match this Sunday. Jay Uso takes Dolph Ziggler out, and Jimmy Uso, again on one leg, delivers a big no-look splash, which he's been doing since the return. Doing the, not looking down, but then instead looking at the hard camera. Really cool touch. Getting the win for the babyfaces.
A good tag team match to start. What did you think, John?
I thought this worked really well. It was the first half hour of the show. A lot of time. They had a great crowd. They were very much behind Reigns, and later with Jay, who was there selling for a long time. And I will say, in this environment, I think Corbin is he works well in a 6-man. I thought he did his part in this match. I think the key to Corbin is not overexposing the guy. I think that in this, it worked well. I thought these 6, like, they have their 6-man down pretty solid. I thought this was a really good start to the show.
I think in a textbook, wrestling format like this match absolutely was, this was about as textbook of a tag team match as you could have had. And in front of a crowd that I think accepts that type of, very... I don't want to say...
This is very much like the NWA pay-per-view.
Oh, is that right?
A lot of basic stuff, but the crowd loved it.
I mean, I feel like this was a match that was lifted right out of the 80s, and this felt like, as a crowd largely comprised of a lot of children reacting to Roman Reigns spots. It worked perfectly, and I think a heel stable like we have here, who's not very likable, not the cool types of heel, but just a strictly, like... dislikable group of heels. I thought they worked really well, as did Roman Reigns. Good WWE tag team match. I really like the team of Roman and the Usos. I think for Roman, it makes him far more likable, just how the Shield, I think, helped him. And I think for the Usos, it greatly ups their stock by being paired with the biggest star in the company. So love seeing this stable, and I hope they continue past the Rumble. Lacey Evans is with Michael Cole. Michael Cole asked Lacey why she's questioning Sasha and Bayley's leadership. And Lacey says it's because they're bullies and she wants to stand up to them. Lacey talks about her difficult upbringing, in particular about her father's addiction and depression, ultimately resulting in his death at a young age for Lacey Evans. Her voice starts to crack as she sounds genuinely emotional talking about this, and then she turns it into a promo coming out of it and gets some pretty good applause. Lacey says she made it and everybody else can. Cole reminds us that Lacey is a former Marine. He reminds us that she is a mother, and they replay the angle from a month ago when Sasha and Lacey's daughter Summer was in the front row and Sasha was taunting her. Lacey says that after that segment, what the crowd didn't see was her daughter crying backstage. And before she could finish, Bayley attacks her from behind, and we kind of get a multi-segment brawl between these two. But, I think Lacey certainly is very good at delivering these types of passionate speeches, and it's probably a big part of the reason why she's getting the push that she has. But I thought this was just a little too exploitive and a little disingenuous. I think they've gotten good reactions by making her a babyface and relying on this her background as a Marine and the stuff with her and her daughter. But in this particular segment, I just felt like they were hitting you over the head a little too hard with the whole daughter thing, the whole Marine thing. Now even trying to throw her past with her unfortunate past with her father into it. I wouldn't have a problem with it at all if I felt like these stories were more naturally introduced rather than Cole just, hey, you're a Marine, right? Hey, you have a daughter, right? Oh, hey, by the way, didn't you have a really bad upbringing? Like, that to me just felt like it was really unnatural to have somebody break into a very real, but like just kind of feeling like a bit of a manipulative way to try to get you to feel for her.
Right. And I think also the way of which you brought up such a heavy subject where it's being done on the ramp, just like the setting of it all. I think this would be taken very differently if you were to do this in like a sit down setting or somewhere outside of the arena, where instead you're getting like the crowd reactions live. I don't know. I certainly had the same reaction you did. I will say, I think that Lacey Evans, like, the delivery is very good, that she has been able to morph into this babyface character very well. And I think a lot of it has been her ability to play this character effectively, and that the audience seems to have like gotten behind to a degree.
I don't disagree to a degree though, and I feel like the subject matter is such that I think the reactions should actually be bigger, and I do wonder if parts of the audience are starting to see through the manipulation. I think she, among the women, is one of the better actresses, in delivering a type of promo like this,
Mm-hmm.
but it does come across like it's acting now because of, I think, how they've served up these, character plot points. And of course also because she's been a complete heel in the year prior to this, with no real inciting incident to signify this babyface turn. I also feel like the look really, I've said this in the past, but I think the look could use some adjusting to just help you mentally separate the heel character from what this brand new, completely different character is. It reminds me actually a lot of like the Lex Luger turn from like the narcissist to all of a sudden overnight the Lex Express character, except I feel like that one almost worked a little bit better because you did have a bit of a change in look. This was just the same Lacey Evans.
So what we need is the Lacey Express. That's what you're calling for.
The Lace Express.
The
Yeah.
Lace Express.
Yes. Kaylee is with Carmella and Dana Brooke backstage. Carmella says she's the odds-on favorite to win the Rumble. Is this true? Odds-on Rumble.
Well,
odds-on
didn't
favorite?
she just announce herself literally in this promo? Are there even? You know what? I actually.
What betting? Yeah, you got the
Someone
betting
sent
odds?
me odds. I got from Jimmy
I'm
Shapiro.
I'm willing to bet it. Carmella's probably not up there, but
Let's look. I don't even know if she's listed here. So in the women's Rumble, oh my gosh. So the women's Royal Rumble, the odds-on favorite to win is Shayna Baszler, followed by Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley. Carmella is a 33-1 favorite, so she is not the odds-on favorite.
wait a second. Is she even judging by that?
She's not even in the top 10, dude.
Oh,
She's
okay,
behind like Nia Jax. Okay, so she's behind AJ Lee.
Maybe she's on a different site. Anyway, so
Yeah, 80-1. These are the least likely on the, and then we'll get back to it. Brie Bella, Kaylee Ray, Kelly Kelly, Lana, Mickie James, Piper Niven, and Stephanie McMahon are all 80-1.
got it. Okay. So she says she's the odds-on favorite to win the Rumble because, John, she won the Money in the Bank years ago.
3 years ago.
And then she says her catchphrase. And Dana follows up by saying, you might be the favorite here. I might be an underdog, but anybody can win the Rumble. It's every woman for herself.
Wait a minute. You missed the exact
please.
response was, Carmella, we've all seen your Wikipedia page.
Oh, yes, of course, etc., etc. Totally, I would say rather generic Rumble promos from both of these two, but it doesn't matter because Bayley and Lacey Evans continue to brawl into the back, interrupting them, and Dana and Carmella try to pull them apart. Our next segment is Nikki and Alexa take it on Fire and Desire, and Sonya and Mandy start apologizing to each other for, all that stuff with Otis last week. Sonya says she shouldn't have been relying on Otis's help anyway. And then this whole thing was kind of plagued with technical issues with Mandy's blurred background filter over top of this thing. They couldn't get rid of it. It's like, it's like having a dog filter that you can't turn off, essentially. Which
Maybe that's how we're always to be viewing them, is through this filter.
the whole show
Maybe
should
all
just
their
have
promos
that.
should be cut that way.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. So this match also doesn't really get going because Bayley and Lacey continue to brawl out from the back and into the ring, and the match is thrown out. I feel like almost in record time. This was what
18 seconds.
you timed this. Thank you. 18 seconds. No match. I don't know if many people were complaining about that though. And that's it. That's pretty much all the promotion for the women on this particular show on SmackDown. Elias comes out. He's got a song called Texas Dream, and it's about him winning the Rumble. He asked Braun Strowman to come out to help him sing a duet. But before Braun can get one note in there, Cesaro and Nakamura interrupt. Elias and Braun versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. I felt they paid specific attention here to Braun Strowman versus Shinsuke Nakamura because that is the match that's taking place on Sunday.
That's not announced.
It's not announced?
No, they have not announced that.
Oh,
one.
never mind then.
They've been building it for the longest time, and he wants the IC title, but they have not announced that.
Never mind.
Sunday.
So the heels double team Braun Strowman. They're swarming him with near falls. As Sami Zayn distracts Shinsuke Nakamura by grabbing a chair, Elias stops him, and it allows Strowman to power slam Cesaro. Tag to Elias, who delivers a big diving elbow, and Elias pins Cesaro to give the babyfaces the win.
Most notable thing for me was during the commercial break, I was watching on Fox, and they did run an XFL spot.
Oh, okay.
So they are promoting it on Fox.
Interesting. Was it a good commercial?
It was like a dude in like a suit, like looking like some sportscaster. He might have been someone, he might not have been, but he was just talking about the XFL, less downtime, more action. Like it was like a very like nothing wild or over the top. It was just like pressing, like, you're gonna get good football and we're not gonna waste your time. That's the hook.
I can't see any wrestling fan, or sorry, any football fan, like, being hooked to check it out based on that.
I will be really surprised if it's not hit big on WWE programming over the next 2 weeks, because I'm very surprised that it has not been mentioned more within WWE broadcasts, and if we are going to see it, or if they're just going to rely on Fox promoting this and the other networks that are airing games.
Big E is in the back. He's oiling himself up as he gets some sort of stagehand to try to lift him. And Kofi Kingston asks him what he's doing, and Big E says, "If your boy is greasy, eliminating him ain't easy."
Great.
Yeah.
That's your Aleister Black now.
Kofi says the Rumble is his favorite time of the year, and it's going to be lit, baby. This year, they're going to do it for Xavier Woods. How do you feel about Kofi Kingston getting to the Rumble this year? Like, for me, I don't think this is any different than any other Kofi Kingston Royal Rumble, where the only thing I know I really have to look forward to is some sort of Kofi Kingston spot.
Yeah, why is this his favorite time of the year? He's lost it every time.
Oh, I guess he gets the attention. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, the full year of him ascending to a main event level, having, a pretty notable title run, I don't feel like came across here at all. He really has fallen just back down to that, spot, like, big Rumble spot guy who does not feel like a favorite at all to win.
No, I think that it's one thing that usually is always lacking at the Rumble is guys just cutting promos on why they want to win. And Kofi had a ready-made promo to give, like, a serious, like, this has been a real step back the last few months. And Sunday, I get a chance to reverse all of that and go after the title that I lost, I never got my rematch for, and get the nightmare of these last 3 months behind me. Like, none of that.
None.
It's like, you wouldn't even, if you were just dropping in, you'd have no idea this guy held the title last year.
So Kayla is with Baron Corbin now. Kayla asked Baron if he's concerned about his match with Roman on Sunday, and Baron says, your questions are stupid, Kayla. It's basically what he says.
Not wrong.
Baron says he's going to drag Roman through every inch of Minute Maid Park, and Baron says Roman won't even make it to the Rumble match later in the evening, but Baron will, and he'll win it. And then at Mania, he's going to be the new Universal Champion.
He also brought up the dog food again here, so keeping that.
He says he's going to do something worse than
handcuffs and dog food.
Worse than handcuffs and dog food. Oh, that could be
something else coming out of a dog.
Ooh. We got a Royal Rumble numbers package here. This one focusing, I would say, maybe on.
There were barely any numbers in this.
Yeah. This one was more so focusing on sort of like the things like the Kofi spots, the comedy spots like Santino and the.
Hey, how about if you took all the people that have been in the Royal Rumbles, stacked them on top of each other, they would make up 6 Eiffel Towers.
Oh God!
What a stupid stat!
Well, how do you even
come up with that? They also mentioned that the Royal Rumble events have been viewed 64 million times on the WWE network. Like, what? Tell me what stat a 10-year-old would love more than to know the millions of views on the network. But there was a really key stat in here that I bet everyone missed.
I certainly did. What was it?
At the end, and I rewound this to double check, they said 3 brands collide in 2 Rumbles, and then they had something for the number 1. But that is the first time they have said 3 brands, and they have not said a peep on NXT about the men or women being part of this match. And I would say the men, they've announced like 3/4 of the lineup. And so I guess you can throw in NXT guys here, but it feels very disorganized in the sense that you would have no idea if you missed that line of the Royal Rumble, including NXT talent, that what can get a championship shot against the NXT champion, against a Raw or SmackDown champion. Like, none of that.
Yeah, they're not on the posters. You almost get the sense that they want to play it down so that they're surprises, I suppose, when they do come out. Certainly, I think with the women's match, you expect a whole lot more content from NXT.
Well, they have announced 9 people for the Women's Rumble, so they are relying on. I mean, they're not all going to be surprises. It's going to be just filling this up. But I mean, I don't even care so much. It's like you can imagine who's going to be in there, and probably a handful of surprises. But I would imagine the bulk of the NXT talent, it's the women's match that they're going to be needed.
All right, we got Sheamus in the back. He says rats have infested his home, and he went after the loudest, squeakiest one of all, Shorty G. He says Shorty G should enjoy that stinky cheese while he can, because he won't get the better of Sheamus again on Sunday. And then he quotes Meatloaf to end his promo, but says rat out of hell instead of bat out of hell.
I did not pay enough attention to this. That's awful. That sounds awful.
Oh, the rat stuff?
All of it.
Yeah, well. I feel like it could be worse. I think these continue to be pretty interesting. It's a dude talking about some. I mean, it's hardly something like you would imagine somebody would say. Even in like an AEW setting, I feel like this is like very much write something down and then read it. But I feel like Sheamus has been doing a decent job.
You can buy a Rise Over Size shirt now. They have started marketing those.
Thank you. Get right on that.
They're not eco-friendly, though.
Are they extra small?
They should come in one size.
Yeah.
One size fits none.
Only kid sizes.
Just children's merchandise for Shorty G. That's actually really funny. Imagine someone, can I get an XL Shorty G shirt? Yeah.
John Morrison comes out with The Miz, and The Miz asks the audience why they booed John Morrison last week after he's been away for so long, and somehow he fits a plug for Miz and Mrs. in here. Says that they are officially, both of them, entering the Royal Rumble. What do you think about The Miz in this role as a mouthpiece for John Morrison?
I think it's fine. I've actually liked Morrison since he's come back. I thought he had a really good match last week. I thought he had a really good match this week. And The Miz is kind of... I prefer him in this role a lot more than as like the tough guy babyface that I kind of am glad they've moved on from.
I totally do as well. Like, this just feels like it's a much better fit for The Miz than action hero. I mean, Miz, I think, is basically like the best part of his wrestling character, which is, I think, his heel promo, except you take out the wrestling altogether and just have him be that heel promo, which I like here. So we have John Morrison taking on Kofi Kingston. This comes after Morrison's defeat of Big E last week on SmackDown. And Morrison, I thought, really dazzled here with his parkour style. The story seemed to be showing that Kofi, at least at the beginning, was able to match much of Morrison's agility and was somewhat immune to a lot of his attacks. That is, of course, until The Miz gets involved. Miz runs up to the apron. Kofi gives him a trouble in paradise, but the distraction allows John Morrison to hit Starship Pain on Kofi Kingston. And so John Morrison pins both Big E and Kofi Kingston 2 weeks in a row. I thought this was a really cool match that told, a pretty decent story between what was portrayed as like two equals with, I don't want to say similar styles, but like similar in that they're both incredibly athletic, incredibly agile, and really unique in their offense. So,
and I think they should be both featured in the Rumble, doing like the near elimination spots, and they should be playing that up, I think.
Absolutely. I think Morrison has been a really good addition to SmackDown lately. They're promoting him really well. Like, I feel like I've seen a number of John Morrison debuts over the years, and I feel like they're doing a really good job here. Loving the team with him and The Miz, and I think both matches against like the New Day members have been to me been standout matches on SmackDown these 2
What
weeks.
if we're backstage with Mandy Rose with her filter, and then John Morrison walks in with his filter for his entrance?
Oh, just a battle of filters, slow-mo. Yeah, what else can we get? We get like more of the 3D altered. Just throw everything. The selfie promo, text on the screen, just throw that all in there. Contract signing, main event contract signing, everybody. Daniel Bryan enters the arena. He's supposed to sign his contract out here with Bray Wyatt. But Bray Wyatt, however, we only see appear on screen in a Firefly Funhouse segment. And we see Bray next to a fax machine, and a bunch of papers that are just crumpled around it as he's trying to work the fax machine but can't. Bryan tells him to cut the crap. He says he sees through him. Bryan says all Bray does is run. Run from his past, run from his mistakes. And on Sunday, he's going to be tied to Bray Wyatt, so he won't be able to run. Bray says, hold on, mistake is the word of the day. And he again brings up Bryan's mistakes, how he betrayed him and he lied, and now it's time to pay. Bray says he won't be competing against him on Sunday, so it's only fitting that the Fiend comes out to sign the contract. So the lights go out, red lights come on, and the Fiend appears, this time though strapped to Daniel Bryan with the leather strap, and they brawl. Mandible claw on Bryan immediately, Sister Abigail to Bryan, as the Fiend tears Daniel Bryan's shirt off and starts whipping him with the leather strap. The Fiend goes over to the table, takes the pen, stabs his hand with it as he, I suppose,
Is
drew
the Fiend
blood.
inside Eric Rowan's cage? Is it a pen that stabs him?
Yeah, I think it could just be a pen, maybe. I don't know. But, that is something that, certainly I think it's the era of them being so afraid of blood, or at least, I don't know.
Man just, mutilated
blood.
himself here on live television.
They've certainly, taken a bigger step towards being okay with blood lately, at least fake blood. So Fiend goes to the table, stabs his hand with this pen, and then signs the contract in his own blood as the crowd chants, "You got issues." Go to black, and the lights come back on, and then we see, in pretty, full color, the welt on Daniel Bryan's back, which looked pretty legitimate here, as well as the blood on this contract. So SmackDown ends with blood all over this contract as Daniel Bryan looks ready to face the Fiend.
I actually kind of like this segment at the end. I think that on Sunday, I'm really hoping that they're in this open air stadium, that logistically we can't get the red lighting. Because I think these two could have a really good match together, but
the red light will be there.
Yeah.
It was there at the end of this segment. It's been there, despite numerous complaints previous, so I can't see them changing it for this. I mean, they'll probably still have that canopy, right?
I guess. What did they do last year at the Rumble? Did they have a...
I don't remember, but
anytime they do a stadium again too. Yeah.
Anytime they do a stadium, they have a canopy. Yeah, I agree. I thought they managed to deliver, I would say, a pretty, creepy, tonally fitting contract signing for the Fiend. I think I like the portrayal of Bryan as sort of this guy who's getting closer and closer to solving this mystery of the Fiend. Even though he got put down here, he comes back up showing very little fear, no fear at all, and seemingly looking forward to the challenge of facing the Fiend in ring again. So I feel like this feud is going to continue because the heart of the issue between these two, which is the stuff about their history in the Wyatt family, they've only really scratched the surface on. So I almost feel like there's more to dive into beyond this match.
This is their second pay-per-view, but you do have... we've got Saudi Arabia. Bryan's not going to be there,
right,
unless things have changed. And then you've got Elimination Chamber. So I don't know if you can extend it much beyond that. I will say, though, I thought Bryan certainly has been able to navigate this very difficult character to be positioned with. Can you imagine Roman Reigns doing this segment?
No, it wouldn't be as good. I think you need somebody who's able to ground his stories in reality a lot more than usual, and somebody who doesn't just kind of rely on, I don't know, catchphrases, which is more to me Roman Reigns' style. Daniel Bryan, I definitely think is one of the better equipped people.
Are you aware of the shirt that got torn off? This whole new eco-friendly shirt that he was wearing that the WWE has put out.
Eco-friendly.
This is his new shirt that WWE has made out of organic cotton and recycled materials. And through a partnership with American Forests, Bryan said, a tree will be planted for every shirt that gets sold.
Really?
Yeah. So this is a shirt that WWE is selling that is organic cotton and recycled materials. It's an eco-friendly t-shirt.
What is the shirt? Oh, it says yes on it. It's
yes. The Planet's Champion.
That's really cool.
Yeah, he was wearing that for the segment. So I mean, mistakenly by the Fiend ripping this shirt off, a new tree will get planted, assuming Bryan will buy his own shirt back.
Where did they announce that?
Bryan tweeted this out.
I mean, why not announce that on the actual show?
They could have. I think that's a really cool thing that they're doing.
I
Think about that, like a tree for every one of these shirts that gets sold. That could be a lot of
To
shirts.
me, that's kind of unprecedented for the WWE to be, to give a shit at all about like
to give a shit about the environment.
Yeah. So I think that's a really cool idea, and it almost makes me want to grab one of these.
Just to have Daniel Bryan sitting down and pitching this. Like,
Yeah.
Granted, this is way above Vince McMahon's what he's overlooking, but could you just imagine getting to watch that interaction of Bryan explaining the shirt to Vince McMahon?
What's funny is that this whole thing was a heel character not that long ago, and can you imagine like pushing this as it wouldn't have been possible as a heel, but he would have certainly sold a lot. Look at that belt, for instance. So anyway, this edition of SmackDown, I thought a really good opening tag match. I thought Morrison Kofi was good. Contract signing I thought went well. Everything else was pretty, I would say.
They really tried to get over Bayley and Lacey Evans bleeding into the different segments to push that. I thought they had a great crowd tonight.
Good
This
crowd.
is the second week in a row. I thought the crowd in Dallas was pretty hot for most of the stuff.
I thought overall SmackDown was a pretty easy watch. Much of it, though, perhaps uneventful. I wouldn't say there was much that I would classify as bad, but nothing that would really motivate me to specifically tune in either. But, I thought it was decently entertaining overall.
I thought one other observation is with Braun Strowman, and this has been a long time, but he's really been shifted into the new Big Show role where
he's an IC level guy. Yeah.
To me, he's the comedic big guy. And I don't see him in any kind of main event light any longer.
Yeah.
And that's not the worst role. Like, that's a role you can have for as long as you want.
No, but like the Big Show, I think when they decide to get serious with him, you can easily transition him.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it just seems like, the dancing stuff with the New Day and now the singing with Elias. Like, I think that's just all, like, that's what they're going to write for the guys. Just look at the big guy do tricks for us. While I forgot to mention this in the news, but while we were talking about crowd reactions, I did ask about this because that was one of our big complaints about AEW on Wednesday was all the crowd censoring. And when the show does come in to TSN, they are able to monitor it. But this week's show itself, that was on the TNT end of censoring the crowd. So that was at least the example this week. But it sounds like TSN, they can, like when they're monitoring it when it comes in. But this week, that was all TNT censoring the crowd. So I really hope that they can figure something out that is, because this week felt to me like the most intrusive, that it was like affecting my ability just to watch the show.
I almost wonder if all this discussion and maybe complaints like this will entice these audiences to not cuss when they're chanting
or yell at boats.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't imagine chanting that at a rival boat, or that another boat would be considered a rival to us. How dare you be in the same water as us?
Fuck that boat is a pretty fun chant, though.
All right, let's get into hard times. NWA's pay-per-view from Friday night at GPB Studios in Atlanta. And we had Joe Galli, Stu Bennett calling the show. And Jesus, when the way this show started, I thought this show was going to be over in an hour because they were just blowing through matches. So we start things off, and it's the television title tournament, our 8-man, one-night tournament, starting off with Trevor Murdoch and the Question Mark in the quarterfinals. And just like Power, there's 6-minute and 5-second time limits. And if they go to the 6:05 time limit, we'll go to the 3 judges, including Billy Corgan. So
who are the other 2?
They did name them, and I just
nobody.
Well, I'll get ahead of myself. They never went to the judges at all throughout this whole night. So they were just kind of there almost to like tease going to the time limit when they never did. Murdoch just caught him with a strike and hit his bulldog off the top, but then Question Mark stood up from the top rope bulldog and took a second one, and this kept him down. 3 minutes and 8 seconds, Trevor Murdoch gets the win, and this ends the Question Mark's undefeated streak in the NWA. Zicky Dice versus Dan Moff, who was representing Ring of Honor. This one went 3 minutes and 2 seconds. That included Moff hitting Dice with a half Nelson suplex and then speared him coming off the turnbuckle, cannonball, senton for the win. And these matches were just so short. It was really just showcases for the person going over. Moff did show like good power here and fire, and they positioned him as one of the favorites. Matt Cross versus Ricky Starks was our next quarterfinal match, and Cross knocked him to the floor. He did the deal where he balanced on the post and then fell down with the elbow, and then bounced off the top rope with his shoulders into a cutter on Starks, climbed to the top, missed the shooting star press, and Starks hit him with the stroke, which is his version of the Angel's Wings, and won in 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Longest opening round match.
Jeez, wow, these are really fast.
Dude, we were 3 matches in like the first 25 minutes of the show.
That's one of the things I actually like about Power. Like
I wasn't complaining
moves.
either.
Yeah.
I was not complaining about this. But they're very short. Mm-hmm. So then David Marquez interviews Tim Storm, and he comes out, and you aren't the audience to him. You are his family. Because the NWA, you are my family. So thank you for supporting the NWA. And he said there's a rumor that Ken Anderson won't be here tonight, but he's going to continue in this tournament tonight, and he's going to take this bye, and then he's going to be fresh for the second round. And this is when Joe Galli announces that Anderson has not been medically cleared, and this was never followed up on later. The angle with Anderson turning on Cabana just aired on TV this week, but Cabana wasn't on this show because he was doing the New Japan US card tonight in Tampa, so he was not there. Stu Bennett then thanked GPB Studios for hosting their first 2 pay-per-views, but for our next show, we're going somewhere bigger. And they didn't say where. They just said we're going somewhere bigger in April, and then he pulled and revealed the giant Crockett Cup. So that will be their next pay-per-view in April, but we didn't get a date or a location, just somewhere bigger.
Okay. Similar size venue to last year, you think?
Could be, yeah. I could see, like, GPB Studios is like 250 people, and, you know, they have been selling this out. So I think you could certainly, you know, take a gamble and run, you know, an 800. Maybe they'll go to Center Stage. Center Stage is about 800 people in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Ring of Honor and NWA are working together, and that's kind of ROH's go-to in Atlanta. Center Stage would probably be the size of location you'd be looking at. So the Rock and Roll Express versus the Wild Cards versus James Storm and Eli Drake for the NWA tag titles. So 3 men are legal at all times. Storm and Drake got a good reaction. Rock and Roll Express got an enormous reaction coming out. This crowd was into everybody in this show. Like, they're familiar with everybody. They cheered for everybody. They did really lift a lot of these matches, even that were just very, very basic in delivery. At one point, Camille attacked Robert Gibson, who was out on the floor for a long amount of time. I don't know what Camille did. The Wild Cards took turns beating down James Storm. Finally, Eli Drake comes in, but the referee misses it, and the audience is just furious. How could you not see this tag? And Gibson made his way in. Eventually, Morton gets the hot tag. Of course, he does his Canadian Destroyer onto Tom Latimer. But then Gibson gets yanked to the floor by Camille. As Morton goes for another Canadian Destroyer to Eli Drake, it is stopped by Royce Isaacs. And this allows Eli Drake to hit Morton with the gravy train. And Eli Drake pins Ricky Morton. So we have new tag team champions, Drake and James Storm, in 8 minutes and 9 seconds. And afterwards, the Rock and Roll Express shook their hands, endorsed them. And I'd be curious if this was kind of the farewell for the Rock and Roll Express, who I think you've kind of rode out the nostalgia run. They've lost the titles. I think now is probably a time to move on from the Rock and Roll Express.
At least for the time being, you know. But the Rock and Roll Express are extremely busy. I think they got to move on.
They have gotten way more bookings in 2019 and 2020 than you probably would have envisioned. But you just did the match with Ricky Morton and Nick Aldis on TV, so I think you've done as much as you can with them at this point that you can maybe move on from it.
But I think they're so welcome. Like, the promos from Ricky Morton lately have just been fantastic, and in spurts. I wouldn't want to see them hold these tag titles forever, but I think, you know, a significant role, maybe once a year, twice a year, I think they're very welcome in it.
Morton being attached to someone, or even both of them, and doing to me, that was, the promos were so great with Aldis and Morton, and just the match just to me could not live up to the build up. Like, the match to me was just very, I don't know, it didn't get to that next level for me on TV this week. So Drake and Storm go over to the podium, and the crowd is chanting, "Talk to us." They just want to hear these men talk. And Drake went through a bunch of ideas for tag team names, but for now, they're just going to be called Champs. Allison Kay versus Thunder Rosa for the NWA Women's title. They start the match striking at one another, and then Rosa starts to attack the left arm of Allison Kay, and this would be her major focus. She wrapped it around the post, was using a Fujiwara armbar, and just attacking Kay nonstop. Rosa then went for a moonsault off the apron, and it was caught by Allison Kay, and then she hit her with an apron bomb. Rosa then countered her AK-47 with a roll-up for a 2 count, and then Rosa came off the top with a code breaker. At this point, the audience is really getting into this, and as Rosa comes off with the code breaker, Allison was supposed to catch her, but didn't quite get her, and they stumbled over, and it was kind of a happy accident because Kay had been selling this left arm for all this time that it actually makes perfect sense that she wouldn't be able to catch this woman flying off the turnbuckle with a bad arm. So I didn't even hold that against them here. Rosa then hits this counter with a code red, and we're starting to get these near falls, and this crowd's going nuts for these two. Kay counters out of an octopus to hit a pile driver for another big fall. Kay then lifts her on the top, hits the AK-47. Everyone thinks it's over. Rosa kicks out again, and then Kay goes into the post, misses, and her injured arm goes into the post. Rosa applies the Fujiwara armbar, but then Kay powers to her feet, and Rosa counters and hits the Thunder Driver. Unfortunately, she really struggled to hit this Thunder Driver, and this was the finish at 18 minutes and 16 seconds. So Thunder Rosa wins the women's title, which this had really been set up like Thunder Rosa was just the obstacle for her to get to Melina. This turned into a really good match. They had their stumbles along the way, but overall, I would have shortened this by like 3 or 4 minutes because they were at such a peak with the near falls, and then they just did a few too many that the audience kind of came back down a little bit. But overall, for an 18-plus minute match, I would definitely recommend this match. These women worked really hard, and this turned into one of the best matches on the show.
Very cool. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, this was I was very impressed with this. Melina and Marty Bell came out to congratulate Thunder Rosa, but there was no angle from that. Marty Scurll was out next with David Marquez, and he wants a shot at the NWA title and says that Nick Aldis is afraid to put his title on the line against Flip Gordon. So Aldis comes out. He says, "This is the house that I built. I was the hot ticket in ROH. Now I'm the hot ticket in the NWA," and says, "I will put up my title tonight against Flip Gordon. And if Gordon wins, he's the champion. But if I win, everything involving you and me coming out of tonight is done on my terms. And Scurll, you have to leave the building." So that's what happened. He was taken out of the building, and now we have a title match. And this segment totally belonged on TV to go into the pay-per-view, where you bought this pay-per-view expecting a non-title match when you were going to deliver them a title match. And I would just totally... It was kind of odd to be on the pay-per-view.
Does it just not indicate that all this came together after the tapings?
I guess so. I don't know. I still would have figured that even if you could just get it out the news this week, like do a promo and set up that it's a title match, it just felt very odd that you went into this not having the title match advertised ahead of time. But it was turned into that. Dan Moff, Trevor Murdoch, these two just killed each other for 3.5 minutes. They had these enormous chops, and then Moff landed a spear. He was biting Murdoch. Moff then missed him in the corner, and as he was dazed on his feet, he got hit with the top rope bulldog, and Trevor Murdoch wins in a, wait for it, 3 minutes and 28 seconds to advance to the finals. So
right.
Trevor Murdoch is going to the finals, and the question mark withstood 2 top rope bulldogs. Dan Moff only one. But this was his second match. So I thought Dan Moff, for the short time he had here, worked very hard in the 2 matches that he had. Tim Storm and Ricky Starks was our other semifinal. So the story is Storm is fresh after Starks had to go through Matt Cross in the opening round, which was the longest match of the opening round way, almost went 4 minutes. Starks cut him off with a drop kick, and he was kind of just fighting from underneath. He landed a knee on him, and then he ran off the ropes and was hit with the perfect Storm, the spinning side slam, but Storm could not get the cover. Starks then blocked a second perfect Storm, and Storm then blocked the tornado DDT, and out of nowhere, Starks caught him with the crucifix, pinning Tim Storm at 4 minutes and 45 seconds, almost going Broadway here, and Tim Storm is out. And the announcers mentioned Tim Storm must be so disappointed in himself. He even had the advantage of a bye.
Wow.
So Tim Storm, he's just like he's coming. He's been shut out of the NWA title, and now he's blown his chance at the secondary title as well. So Tim Storm, the plight of Tim Storm continues. Then we went to the NWA national title match: Aaron Stevens versus Scott Steiner in the year 2020. I guess Scott Steiner was feeling nostalgic for the Royal Rumble, remembering his classic with Triple H, and said, "You know what? I'm going to outdo myself tonight." Steiner did so little in this match. It was pretty much all Stevens just bouncing around for this guy. Steiner was poked in the eyes, but then instantly recovered to hit a belly-to-belly, and Stevens nearly landed on his head. Then he hit a much safer one to Aaron Stevens. Steiner's big move, other than the belly-to-bellies, was a flatliner, and then he went to apply the Steiner recliner, when the question mark ran in to karate chop Scott Steiner, and we get the DQ finish at 5:51.
Oh, on pay-per-view? Come on.
Stevens runs away, leaving the question mark to succumb to the Steiner recliner. This sucked.
Oh, that's disappointing.
This was really bad. For a pay-per-view, shitty finish, and just not good. Like, there's just no good to this.
I think on TV this would have been perfectly fine. I'm actually even looking forward to something involving Scott Steiner in the question mark. But for TV, for a YouTube show, for a pay-per-view, this is a really disappointing result to hear.
This was $28 Canadian. So I think I will say the silver lining here again, the crowd, they get into all the characters. There are no dead matches for this crowd. The crowd they attract at GPP Studios are the MVPs of this show. Nick Aldis versus Flip Gordon was second from the top, the NWA title match. So they ended up closing with the TV title final. So they fought on the floor by the announcer's desk. Eventually they returned to the ring. Gordon's using an armbar, and then Aldis powers out of that. And then he chop blocks the left knee of Flip Gordon. He applied a figure four. Gordon escapes the figure four, and on the bad knee does a kip up. And then, I guess the ACL just fully healed, and he leaped off the middle rope to land a spear. Gordon then gets suplexed off the top, lands on his feet. Aldis hits a pile driver for a 2 count. Gordon does another kip up, moves to a crossface. Aldis breaks out of that. Gordon hit a pair of star-spangled stunners, which are like twisting OsCutters. Aldis kicked out of those, and then Aldis, just out of nowhere, holds on to Gordon during this reversal and just holds him down for a 3 count. Finish just came out of nowhere at 15 minutes and 16 seconds. So Aldis retains the heavyweight title. Certainly this and the women's match were several steps above the other matches, just in terms of length. But I don't know. I didn't fully get into this, for a big Nick Aldis title defense. I just didn't think it really hit that next level. And even though there was some slip-ups in the women's match, that was the match I preferred over this. And the final match, had you guessed in our predictions way, would you have said likely or unlikely Trevor Murdoch closes a pay-per-view this year? I would have said unlikely.
Definitely unlikely. Yeah.
But here we are, Trevor Murdoch and Ricky Starks. And Murdoch looked very good in this match. Very much playing almost going very much like a Japanese style, really laying it in and playing the oversized heel against Ricky Starks, even though the crowd kind of was into both guys here. But Murdoch just beat down Starks. He attacked his back, ran him into the apron, the steps, the crowd's chanting for both. Then Murdoch just dumps him over the top, landing face first on the floor. He's in control, hit a Saito suplex, took off Starks' head with a lariat, and then Starks fights back by lifting up Murdoch and hitting a sit-out powerbomb. This was his first major move of the match. And then Starks hits a spear. Murdoch kicks out, and from there, Starks hits the stroke and wins in 9 minutes and 20 seconds to become the television champion. And you didn't even get a big celebration or anything. It was 60 seconds and we were off the air. It was just goodbye. Wow. We'll see you on Tuesday for Power. And I thought the match was fine. It was told a decent story. It was very short, 9 minutes for a main event, but it was all right. And I can't say I was bored by this show. I would recommend the women's match for sure. Aldis and Gordon was good, and I thought the final match. The rest, it was either very short matches or totally skippable in the case of Stevens and Scott Steiner. But I mean, it's, to me, when you're watching an NWA pay-per-view, like, you're not getting a work rate show. It's very different. It's very character driven.
Was it worth the $20?
I would say it was, like, for Canadian, it was almost 30. I can't say this was necessarily a $30 show by the end of it. 20, I would say, sure.
20 Canadian, which would be like 15 US.
Yes. So maybe if you pre-order this, I think you get like a discount. Maybe it's worth the pre-order.
Okay.
But I think it's a high bar when you're asking for that amount of money.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. That's 3 months of the network. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's multiple months of New Japan World that you're asking for this. So I think the critical eye is going to be much sharper then when you're spending that amount of money on this show. I was not bored by the show. It goes by very fast. These NWA shows, whether it's the TV or the pay-per-views, they're very fast-paced. And I think that is a big bonus in today's climate, to just not take people's time for granted. But I'd go thumbs in the middle on this show.
So the next show, April.
They didn't give us a date, so April's going to be a very busy month when you have an Impact show in there. It's WrestleMania. So I assume they're going to stay on Fridays. We'll see. We'll see if they adjust that. And also, who's going to get the Nick Aldis, Marty Scurll match? Will this be NWA or ROH that gets that match?
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Alrighty, at this point, we'd like to open up the phone lines to everybody in the chat room right now. But first, let's go to the forum right now and a couple feedback threads we have for both shows. First of all, what did you guys think of SmackDown? On a scale of 1 to 10, the forum voted 4.67. Not a very good rating for SmackDown.
I didn't mind SmackDown.
I didn't think it was that bad at all. What did you guys think of NWA Hard Times? Those of you that watched it voted out of 10. 6 out of 10.
All right.
Pretty decent rating, I would say. Do you want to start us off, John?
Sure. Nick from Lansing writes, man, what an opening tag match. Even with the predictable return at the end, the action was hot, and it's still nice hearing a crowd get so vocally behind Roman. I've been critical of Lacey Evans and her face trim, but I have to admit that this was her best promo on the main roster so far. What I could do without is her and Bayley brawling through every other woman's segment. If anything, it shows just how little they're doing with most of that division on SmackDown. The Morrison and Kofi match was another highlight for me. Another good example of how talented Morrison is with someone like Kofi. So I hope the New Day can pull off a great match with him and Miz whenever that gets scheduled. The contract signing was interesting. At the very least, You've Got Issues could be a fun new chant.
All right, we go to the phone lines at right now, and I believe on the line is Bruce Lord. Bruce Lord, can you hear us? Oh. Hello.
Caller,
hey,
are you there?
There you are.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Must have had the mic muted. Yeah, great to see you both back in the post office here. I watched the NWA show this evening, and John, I think you raise a good question. Is this a $20/$30 sort of show? Say, well, maybe technically not, but for me, this is very much kind of a continuation of the actual Power episodes, and I appreciate the fact that they've been, running those quite regularly. I think they pack a lot of entertainment into a, free hour on YouTube. So basically, I view this as kind of just like me throwing a bit of cash their way every 2, 3, 4 months, whatever it happens to be. And I ended up being pretty satisfied with it. Like you, I thought that the women's match was really, really excellent, and I enjoyed the main event as well. In the case of Steiner, I would maybe say that if you're paying Steiner money to, appear on your show in 2020, you should at least put a microphone in his hand to get your money's worth. But, it went by quickly, and it's, very much in keeping with the fast and approachable and, maybe sometimes empty calories, but very easy to digest product that I think NWA is putting out right now.
Yeah, that's completely fair comments on the NWA pay-per-view. Like, I overall, I enjoyed the show. I got a match that I was not expecting with Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa. I would say that exceeded any expectations I had for this show on paper to deliver. What did you think of Nick Aldis and Flip Gordon? Did that work for you, or what did you think of that match?
It was okay, but it didn't really move the needle. Like you, I think that, throwing on the actually making it a title match at the last second really made no sense. And then, of course, also, foreshadowed the fact that there was no way in hell Flip was winning this match. So, it kind of gave the ending away as if it wasn't, set in stone as is. Yeah, I mean, it does. I like the idea of this whole ROH NWA crossover, and the fact that, you've got Marty both as a on-screen and perhaps behind-the-scenes person involved and responsible for some of this crossover. It could be really interesting, and I think it could really end up helping both brands in the long run. I'm really keen to see where it goes.
Yeah, and we didn't mention in the news, but Nick Aldis is also now added to Supercard of Honor. So this relationship is certainly going to continue.
Awesome. One kind of maybe general open question, then I'll hang up here, guys. We have in the NWA and MLW these two kind of YouTube-based products that seem to be sort of shopping around for some sort of larger distribution, deal, whether it's TV, whether it's Amazon, or whatever it might be. Which of those, not to put you on the spot, but which of those do you maybe see being more palatable to the broader audience and a more general audience, possibly, that those larger distribution systems would put them in touch with? Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. We appreciate the call. I would certainly have to say that MLW's got to have the leg up. Like, they recently announced their deal with ICM Partners, who are going to be, that's a talent agency that represents John Cena and, a lot, like, they're going to be out there shopping the broadcast and streaming rights for MLW. So I would have to say that if you're looking at the two products, I would imagine that MLW is just a show I could see on television or a major streaming platform before I could see the NWA. But do you think differently, Wai? Do you think that the NWA has a certain appeal to it that maybe just because it's so visually different that maybe that it could appeal to a broadcast network?
Of the two, my own personal interest is more towards NWA right now, but I am a wrestling fan who already watches so much other wrestling that I look towards what's different that's out there, what's more niche than what's out there. That might not necessarily be what a TV broadcaster looks for in a wrestling product.
What MLW has going for it, I think, as well, is if you're looking at AEW as a success story, what is something similar? And I think you could go and watch an MLW Fusion show, and they've got a lot of great talent. It's very much, it's geared at a different audience as well. Yeah. And I could see that being like, hey, this is maybe a version, this could be a copycat of AEW for us, that we could, not saying it's the exact same product, but that if there's an audience for non-WWE here on TNT, maybe we can get in on the ground floor with this product.
All right, I'm going to try something right here, and hopefully this person is on the line. Caller, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to try one more time here.
This is very dramatic.
We have, hopefully joining us very shortly, maybe a special report from somebody who watched SmackDown this week. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from, and what is your name?
My name is WH from NJ.
From NJ?
First time caller.
I don't hear
long time, first time.
I don't hear all the chuckling.
Where? Oh, the chuckling? Oh, like, yeah. I'm banned. The chuckling's banned from Twitter, apparently.
So we announced that we were gonna do this Friday SmackDown at 11 p.m. and wouldn't you know it, 11 p.m. in North America in Toronto also happens to be prime afternoon time.
Yeah, I said that this time. Who is this gonna benefit? I totally forgot. This is the show for WH Park. And
WH Park, I don't know what it is. Maybe we've just maybe you've caught the fever, the SmackDown WWE fever, WH, because what, 2 weeks in now? This is what, your third SmackDown in a row?
Okay, like I tried watching this show and I was just so bored. And I turned it off.
Oh no!
The only impression I got was that I want to drive an American pickup truck and eat pizza. That's the only impression I got from watching the half hour of SmackDown that I could tolerate before I just said, "Fuck this shit! I don't want to watch it anymore."
Oh my! Okay. Well, what these were commercials? I would assume, which I did not see.
Well, I watched it via quote unquote alternative means, and can I just say, that site, the chat room in that site is just a toxic garbage dumpster of like shit.
Oh,
it was horrible.
You mean the alternative means website? Yes.
Yes. That not this one. This one's fine. The post wrestling one's fine. The
Gotcha.
alternative means chat room was just terrible.
How
Just
much
terrible
did
people
you?
there.
How much did you actually get through of SmackDown?
Well, okay. First of all, the broadcast got quote unquote suspended, but I got through the 6-man tag match at the beginning. That was okay. Then I tried to endure the horrible Lacey Evans promo, which was terrible, and then I kind of gave up where Michael Cole went through the Royal Rumble statistics, where it's like it's all about the numbers, people. And I'm just like, this is fucking bullshit. I hate this garbage. I can't stand WWE speak, so I just like I got better things to do. I'll just call when you're ready to just do the reviews and take phone calls and stuff. I did watch some good wrestling this week.
Tell us about the Stardom show that you watched this week and the two title matches.
Yeah, it was a really good show overall. I've watched all but 3 matches, which I'll catch up later. But this is from Cork and Hall. It's their anniversary show. They had like 3 title matches. The Goddesses of Stardom title match, which saw Bea Priestley and Jamie Hayter win the tag team titles from Jungle Kiona and Konami. That was a good match. There was the Wonder of Stardom title match. Arisa Hoshiki took on Utami Hayashishida in an excellent match. She retained the title. Just absolutely brutal. Like Utami was bleeding hard away, I think, from her head being rammed into the apron. Hardest part of the match, by the way, of the mat, by the way, is just so people know. And it just added a lot of drama to the match itself. And like Arisa just like was vicious. She's just like beating the shit out of Utami, and she really reminds me a lot of like Katsuyori Shibata and like the intensity and like her style of wrestling, a lot of kicks and strikes and stuff like that. Utami's just an amazing wrestler for someone like only really into the second year of her career. It's just unbelievable how good she is. And then the top match of the show was the World of Stardom match. Mayu Iwatani defended against Momo Watanabe. Just an absolute war between these two at 19 minutes. Easily digestible like show. I recommend if you want to check out, like what I think is going to be a really hot product in 2020, go sign up for Stardom World and watch. This is good, jumping on point, I think, for a lot of people. And the other show I watched was the
hold
All
on
Japan show.
Before you move on from Stardom WH, have you been caught
sure.
up with all the details of Hana Kimura's love life on Terrace House?
All I know is that she told the basketball dude, "Hey, if I win this tournament, I'll ask you on a date." And like,
No,
like,
the other way around. The other way around.
Was it the other way around?
Oh,
Then I'm not
wait.
caught up
Sorry.
yet.
Yes, you're right. No, you're right. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that
No, that's-
happened, but the relationships like really progressed since then. In fact, I mean, it was interesting seeing like her in Japan, because I feel like that was also exactly at the time where, if you're following the show, Hana Kimura, unfortunately, gets some heartbreak. Okay, gets to experience some heartbreak for the first time. As far as we're led to believe in her life, and so I really was wondering how this was going to affect her performance. But it was really gripping. It was really it's been a great season so far, and I would say a highlight of which has been Hana Kimura, kind of playing the stalker role, if I have to be honest at this point. Sort of facing some unrequited love. So I recommend it to you, WH.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna try to catch up on Terrace House when I carve out some time for that.
But what was the other show you were going to go through?
Oh, I was just going to talk about this All Japan show from Saitama on the same day on January 19th, and there's a really excellent match between Ayato Yoshida, who's from Just Tap Out, a small indie promotion that used to be part of Kaintai Dojo before the big split with Taka Michinoku, and he took on Naoya Nomura, and they went to this war of a 30-minute time limit draw. John, I recommend it to you. I sent a DM to you. Just go watch that match. It's excellent. And the other match I really liked on this show was a tag team match before. Hikaru Sato teaming with Battle Arts legend Yuki Ishikawa, and they took on Fuminori Abe and Jake Lee, who are part of this new faction in All Japan called Jin. And on the outside was Munenori Sawa, who some people might remember from early Evolve shows. Like, he's kind of like the mentor to Abe, and he was out there dressed like Clark Kent. Kind of, if you see the match, you'll know what I mean. And he did a lot of some comedy spots, which I thought worked really well because they were kind of fit in the context of the match. But that's a good match to watch. But definitely the Yoshida Nomura match, fucking great. Just go watch it. Just to me, that's like, if all things work out with All Japan, that'll be like a Triple Crown match in the next 2 to 3 years.
We missed Yushi Ishikawa when he did the WXW show last summer during SummerSlam week. But how did he look?
Oh, he looked fine. Like,
we saw
he's
him.
working a style. You know,
We saw
like
him with
a style.
Tim Thatcher, didn't we?
Yeah, in the Ambition show.
I don't think I was at that show.
You were
Yeah,
at
you
that
were.
show.
You're sitting next to us. He worked Tim Thatcher in the WXW show.
I'm totally blanking on this. All right. But how did he look?
Yeah, he looked fine. He's working a style that, you know, that suits him. He's not doing big bumps. He's grappling. It doesn't, you know, put a lot of wear and tear on your body. And you know, I was talking to BWE's Jamesy a bit about this match, and he's like thinking, oh, they should put Ishikawa in this year's Champions Carnival. And I'd be like, yeah, I'd be okay with that.
All right. Well, that sounds ambitious, but hey, he's a veteran of ambition, so maybe Champion Carnival will be in his immediate future this coming spring. Well, WH, our final question for you: who's winning the Royal Rumble on Sunday?
I don't know, and I don't care. I mean,
who will be best dressed at the Royal Rumble?
Who'll be best dressed? Well, certainly not Baron fucking Corbin or Eddie Dennis. Let me tell you that right now. I don't know. I don't think anyone looks that great in the WWE. Shinsuke Nakamura's looks like he's in a disco S&M party, and Baron Corbin is Baron Corbin. I don't know. Can I just say about Roman Reigns? I like Roman, but man, he's got to lose the Call of Duty LARPer gimmick. It's really fucking played out, you know. So, anyways.
Hey, real final thing. Are you aware of the trivia game that Braden and Davey did on their Patreon feed?
I am. It's on the queue. I just haven't had a chance to listen to it. I'm catching up on.
Okay, we definitely want to know your thoughts on that show.
Oh, definitely. Like I'm just listening to BWE's excellent, you know, Best of the Decade show, and then that's next, and then I'll listen to that.
Okay, I
call in with your thoughts.
Yes, I think you'll enjoy the trivia show with
Okay,
Mike Murray
I
on
will,
it as well.
Of course, anything with my good friend Mike is a must listen for me.
Well, WH, you are a must listen for all of us. So thank you for joining us here on the unofficial Cafe Hangout that we have tailor made for your listening pleasure.
We might have to move the show permanently if we're going to get WH on every week.
I mean, this is perfect for you. A nice Saturday afternoon listen for WH.
We should just go to Pepper Lunch after this, guys. Let's go.
Well, you can go to Pepper Lunch and we'll pull up Skype and
we'll be at the Irish bar.
Wai and I will have some premium haichu that's over here.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, I saw the pictures of that.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Premium.
They're great.
Premium. I don't know what makes it premium, but they're very good.
Okay, I should buy some wasabi Kit Kats and just like go on Skype with you guys and just on a chat, like just eat them together with you.
It sounds like how could this Friday night not get more entertaining than having a meal with someone halfway across the world? Well, WH, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for calling in. We will chat soon for sure.
Talk to you later, guys.
All right, thanks, WH.
The one and only WH Park.
Man, I never thought we'd ever be able to get him on our live show.
No delay, no technical issues at all.
Maybe we should make his show live all the time.
You wouldn't have to edit. You can hear WH Park tomorrow. This
Thunderstruck
tomorrow
on Sunday.
Sunday morning on Thunderstruck.
That's tomorrow. Yeah,
technically tomorrow. We go back to the phone lines, and it's nice to hear from this person again. In first time in a month, Hansi, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I missed you guys for real, man.
Hey, likewise.
It's been a long. No, that's cool, man. I'm glad you guys are back. I'm glad you guys had fun. I enjoyed the coverage. I just want to say just two things. Like the Royal Rumble. I mean, I know the Royal Rumble sells itself and all that, and so I wasn't like expecting like these. Even though I like when people like, even though like someone you don't know is not gonna win the match. I like when these guys deliver promos like, oh yeah, maybe Bastion Booger has like a chance of winning the Royal Rumble or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. There was hardly any of that this year, and I think they're just counting on like the Rumble selling itself, and I guess that with Brock Lesnar being in there, and if it goes the way that people are predicting online with Cain Velasquez, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. I really hope that it helps. Like, I hope he stays in a long time, and they just helps different people interact with them, like, you know, with Kofi Kingston or whatever, you know what I mean? Just like anyone, like, who, even if they're not gonna like eliminate Brock Lesnar, I just hope people are kind of like, they look good against him. But I'll finish with this. I share your sentiments way about like the Lacey Evans thing, and I thought, listen, I'm not saying that she's not delivering the promo well. I think she's doing the best that like they're booking her, and you know what I mean. Even though like it was a sad story, and I feel for that because you know I go through depression and all that, I do kind of feel like with them being on, and this is what I was worried about, and maybe I'm gonna be wrong about this, but I feel like with them being on Fox, I feel like they're gonna have more of a, like they're gonna keep incorporating her pro army and just like the single mom type of thing, and even though we don't really buy her as a baby face, and I feel like that's par for the course because you know this company is connected to Trump, and I do feel like with you know all these entertainment forms incorporating political messages, I really feel like with this Lacey Evans one, this one seems a little bit more obvious than usual, if I may be honest. But I could be wrong, by the way. And I'm not saying that I'm going to shit on Lacey Evans for her promos and all that, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure there's genuine feeling there. But I just don't trust the company with that, if that's fair enough to say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know how much of it really has to do with the fact that it's Fox. You know, I feel like you would probably get the same character if it was on Raw or SmackDown. But I have no problem with the fact that they're playing up all this stuff. I actually encouraged it when they were debuting Lacey Evans. Why aren't they getting to all this other stuff that is far more compelling than whatever this, you know, whatever 50s, 60s caricature is supposed to be? I just have a problem with the way that they've been serving it and the lack of believable transition from her heel character to this, and instead just having Cole introduce this plot point out there. Hey, talk about this terrible upbringing you had. Talk about you being a Marine. Oh, by the way, you remember that everybody that she's also a mother. It's just it to me just feels really pandering and really sloppy.
It's also an audience that is more perceptive than ever at that, and we have seen a list of baby faces that they have tried to shove down people's throats, and you get rejected. And I think Lacey Evans has like a lot of natural talent in this role that she can get over as this baby face. But if you push too hard, there will be that pushback. And I think that's something that the last 5 years should have been able to teach you of, okay, there has to be some kind of natural connection here. It can't all be just manufactured. And I don't think Lacey Evans takes a whole lot of manufacturing. I think she is a very good actress, as you mentioned, by comparison. So
thank you, Hansi, for the phone call. We go back to the phone lines now. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Oh my goodness, he made it.
Are you allowed on this show right now? Are you breaking any laws by being on our show at this moment?
I just got home. What's going on, guys?
Are you what's going on,
Yeah,
Brandon?
what happened to you?
We're worried.
What did you post?
Beg your pardon?
What did you post?
Who do we have to talk to?
That got you
Twitter?
banned on Twitter.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, I saw Jesse from the Six making a comment about Gunther Singh, the guy that was running against in the election, and he didn't get banned. I must have thought something about Bill Simmons and his anti-union tactics, and probably that's what happened. I don't know, man. It's weird. It's unjust.
Are you still locked out? Are you locked out? Have they given you any time frame of when you'll be allowed back in?
Hopefully a week.
A week?
Hey?
A week?
Did they say how long the suspension would be?
No, some people told me it's usually a week.
Wow.
It's disgusting. It's a miscarriage of justice, and for that, I think we should all.
You need to take this to the courts. I think you have to fight this all the way up.
Listen, John, you're a big shot. Go talk to Jack and get me on.
Yeah, you got a blue check mark, John. I'm sure you can pull some strings.
Listen. I only get so many snapping of the fingers in a year, so I gotta do my due diligence here to make sure it's I'm fighting a worthy cause here. But I think Brandon, I think he'd be worthy of going out on a limb for.
It's social injustice, and I'm very disgusted.
Well, we're not going to ban you here, at least not yet, Brandon. I am touched that you called in. I was seriously not expecting one phone call on this show, so everyone is blowing my mind here. But
Well, I miss you guys, man.
It's been a month. It's been a long time.
What's that?
It's been a long time since we have talked. It's been over a month.
Oh, this connection sounds so horrible.
Oh,
Let me call you back.
Oh, dear. We lost him.
okay.
It's clearly the government has swooped in on his phone
Yeah,
calls
yeah,
now.
I know. No luck for Brandon this entire week. Shall we go to the feedback thread?
We had a few more left here,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I do want to go through the cards this weekend, but let's finish up the feedback.
Yeah, we go to Gerard, who says, I thought Hard Times was great, much better than Into the Fire and closer to the quality of the Crockett Cup in the 70th anniversary show. Allison Kay versus Thunder Rosa was the best women's match that the NWA has had so far. The best part of the show is that the NWA has recognized that it has breakout talent like Ricky Starks and Thunder Rosa. That bodes well for them in the long term.
Yeah, I thought Thunder Rosa, she looked really good in that match. Like Allison Kay, it's less surprising, but I thought the two of them, they had very good chemistry together. I would like to see them continue that, and it was a surprising outcome.
Did they do much MMA stuff?
It was, you had Thunder Rosa doing like the arm bars and like the Fujiwaras, but it wasn't like a heavily influenced match like that from that side.
Because they both have that background.
Yeah, that's right. Miles from Chicago writes, thanks for going live tonight, guys. My wife had a work outing, so I was able to squeeze in NWA, GCW, and the post office. What a great Friday night. I agree. Quick thoughts. NWA was a good show. My personal favorites of the card being the tag, world title, and TV title finals. Great to see Trevor Murdoch in the NWA and hope he continues for a while with the promotion. I always enjoyed Nick Aldis, and I'm looking forward to seeing what his terms will be for Marty Scurll. I thought I was disappointed he wouldn't be coming to AEW, but I do think him in this role with ROH and further crossover with NWA will help both brands. 7 out of 10 show for me. Nothing that blew me away, but I'm invested enough to keep following to the Crockett Cup. Overall, great night of wrestling. Looking forward to Rumble and all your coverage. Well, thank you, Miles.
Back to the phone lines right now for our man, Neil.
Oh, boy.
Neil, what time is it over there?
Hey guys, it's 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, my goodness.
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. but
5:30.
yes.
Yeah, 5:30 on Saturday.
See, wouldn't
perfectly normal.
5 supposed like be like half of that? Like 2:30?
It's way
It's
too early
half-
for Neil to be doing Way's math, which may
this-
rival Scott Steiner's math.
This is the fortnight thing all over again. Is 5:30 not an acceptable way to express
No,
the
we don't say
time?
that. We don't say that.
It's most people understand it, Neil.
You say 5:30.
I guess.
Okay. Fair enough.
Neil, what are your thoughts? What did you want to chat about tonight or this morning?
Well, first off, I'm very glad that my client got his one phone call from Twitter jail.
That's right. Yeah, Neil was the one who informed us that.
Well, he barely got one call. He just got cut off, so he may have lost his one phone call.
That's again Jack and the dark hand of
The
these
dark hand.
internet giants. You know.
Yeah, they're after Brandon, not after us. So
Yeah. No. I
one
just
can't
wanted-
grieve forever.
No, I just wanted to call and say it's good to see you guys back in your natural environment. Although I did get a preview of that with the BDE special the other night, which was a really good fun.
That
I'm
was
not
a lot
saying
of fun.
anything.
Could you
It-
see that?
it
Did you get to
really-
watch that? It was a
I
video
watched
too.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The first 4 minutes were cut off, but the rest were.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah.
You made it sound like
first
it
couple-
was a disaster.
Nah, it could have been better.
No. The first couple of minutes it was audio only, but then for the vast majority of it, it was absolutely fine. So no, it was good to
Patreon.
see.
Patreon.com/upnext, everybody. It was a lot of fun doing their Rumble draft.
Yes. One of the
Yeah.
questions was a mistake, though. So
Wh-
there was a big
wh-
controversy. I don't want to say which one because it's going to
Okay.
ruin people that want to listen to this.
Interesting.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Interesting. All right. Did you watch any of the wrestling? I guess it was like it's 5 a.m. over there, so I'm assuming not yet, Neil.
I did see SmackDown. It was on live. So and it was kind of just the normal, really, just a show. I mean, it wasn't. I'm not very excited for the Rumble. And one thing I did want to notice, or did want to just note, which is they've been saying for the last 2 weeks at least, is that anytime, it just makes me laugh, anytime a wrestler does a tope or plancha, you get Michael Cole saying, "Oh, if they did that in the Royal Rumble match, they would be eliminated. It's just
they're worried Mil Moskris
on.
is going to show up and kill and dive off the top and eliminate themselves.
Yeah, as if they're going to do that, you know. But I just wanted to say welcome home, and it's good to see you. The name of that bar is Scale Ella.
Scale Ella.
This is the Irish pub that we went to in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Skeel, it just rhymes with my first name, and Ella. Yeah, and it means another story. And it's part of a longer phrase, Shin Skeel Ella, which it means that's another story, which just means exactly what it sounds like it means.
We got to get all you guys in the same room in person at some point. You, WH, Brandon, all the people that called in today. Hansi.
Live studio audience.
Yeah.
That would be cool, yeah. I keep meaning to try and make it over. It's a huge regret of mine that I wasn't able to get over for SummerSlam weekend, because I kind of have got to know quite a lot of the guys on various social media and
underground chat messages.
Exactly, yeah. So it'd be very cool to meet in real life, you know. But
plenty of chance in the future.
I'm sure the opportunity will arise at some stage.
What if we did a post wrestling cruise?
To where?
That's an excellent idea.
We'd go to
Ireland.
Yeah, we take a cruise to Ireland.
Oh yeah, dream date,
How long did that
destination,
take?
vacation destination.
Yeah, then you can go to your OTT show.
Yeah, there we go. On a boat. OTT on a boat.
Irish cruises, yes, wonderful.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Neil. Nice to hear from you again.
Enjoy the shows. I'm sure we'll hear from you Sunday night potentially.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely.
Have a great
Thanks,
weekend,
guys.
Neil, and thank you.
Take care.
Good to hear from
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
You know what I am not hearing anyone talk about is the Worlds Collide show on Saturday. Are you going to watch the show?
I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna cherry pick. I'm not gonna sit down for the whole thing. I just don't really have time this weekend. But I'm going to cherry pick and see what's worth watching.
There's a lot on Saturday between Worlds Collide. There's a Bellator show that I want to see at least some of, and a UFC card as well. And then Sunday, of course, is the Mammoth Royal Rumble. Do we have more calls?
I think so. I feel like this is somebody who tried to call in earlier. Hello.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yes. So yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that, man. The powers that be are trying to silence me. The voice of the voiceless.
All good. All good.
It's actually WH that has concocted this entire plan.
He told me he would exact revenge on me for my fallacies. Shameless.
He told us he was going to cancel you in more ways than one, and now I guess this week you're starting to realize what canceling means.
I think he's canceled me more times than I don't know. Bad network show's been canceled.
What are you watching this
anyway,
weekend, Brandon?
You were talking about Worlds Collide. I mean, that four-way for the Cruiserweight title is going to be an absolute banger that nobody is talking about.
I think it's going to be a great show. I just don't know. It's just stacked on top of so much that I just don't know how much of a priority the show is for most people. But I have no doubt it's going to be a really great show. On paper, it looks fantastic.
I'm excited for it. I know people want to hate watch WWE programming and whatnot, but I think it's going to be and I know NXT UK is not necessarily over, especially with Joe Koff making his NXT debut, but Joe Coffey, but
not Joe Koff.
How has no one made that joke before? Joe Koff.
Joe
Coffey.
on the tip. During that the Royal Rumble thing that you guys did, which was absolutely a must listen to. I thought you kept saying Joe Koff.
Joe Koff is
his name was said more on that podcast than it's probably been said on any of our other shows combined.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that show is definitely getting slept on, and it's going to be good. I got a couple questions. I'll get out of here. Wait, you said that the AEW should go to a cold city, and you recommended Nunavut. I agree with you. I know a friend named Dakota that probably would go to that show. What do you think about that?
Dakota.
And
what?
Dakota, my friend Dakota from Nineveh.
Huh?
Never mind.
No, you
and,
totally lost me there.
No worries. And the ROH reunion show. Do you think they could pull Takeshi Morishima for that show?
No, I don't think so. I don't.
And John, did you hear about that? And a serious question. Did you hear about that Washington Post article on Ben Omalu profiting off of CTE?
You know what? Someone sent me that article. I just haven't read it yet. But what is the Cole's notes of it?
It was just interesting how he's profiting. He said that he created the name CTE, and he's just profiting off of the notion of the diagnosis and whatnot. I just think it would be up your alley.
Oh, I'll definitely read it. I've got it. Someone's sent it to me, but I'll definitely read that. Maybe I'll post that this week.
All right, guys. Thank you for taking my call, for being silent. I love you guys.
We always have time for you. Always have time.
I'm out of here.
Thank you, Brandon.
Wouldn't be a complete show without Brandon from New Jersey.
Worlds collide.
All right, Worlds collide going down on Saturday night. Pre-show's got Mia Yim versus Kaylee Ray. That I assume is non-title. Kaylee Ray is the NXT UK Women's Champion on the pre-show. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa against Trent Seven and Tyler Bate. That should be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the match of the weekend.
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
On any show.
Yes, absolutely.
Angel Garza, Isaiah Scott, Jordan Devlin, and Travis Banks for the Cruiserweight title.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Like, everybody on this show, and in particular, like in a match like this, everybody has something to prove. You know, like a guy like Travis Banks, this is like, you say what you want about maybe like the importance of this show. To this guy, it is a very important show. Same with Jordan Devlin. Same with Isaiah Swerve Scott.
I don't even think it's the worst idea to put this Cruiserweight title on someone else, like an NXT UK guy that could be doing NXT as well.
Just kind of getting started, though, with Angel
I
Garza.
think they'll keep it on Garza, but I'm not against the idea of flipping it onto like a Devlin or somebody either. But yeah, it'll probably be Garza. Finn Balor and Ilya Dragunov. This is like literally the buildup is Balor watching this guy on an iPad. But it's going to be a great match. That's kind of like the tale of this whole show. It's like good matches, but they're just kind of in a vacuum.
How much do you think Dragunov gets?
I think he gets a lot before he loses.
I think he should too. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see a squash match. I think people would complain, quite frankly.
I think they get 12-13.
Perhaps. I mean, you know, the biggest match of Ilya Dragunov certainly his WWE career, so this will be a big showcase for him.
I don't think even the tag match, which I certainly would be open to being the longest of them, but I'm hoping we're not getting any 30-35 minute like marathons here.
If there's any, it would be I mean, I think the main event actually will at least go 30.
30.
Don't you? I mean, it's an 8-man tag.
I guess so.
It's not elimination, but I mean, maybe not up to 30, but at least 20. And I
20 I'm fine with.
Yeah, the DIY match.
That one's going 20.
I think it'll be awesome though.
I think it's going to be very good.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm for the NXT Women's Championship. I mean, Ripley's just won this title again. Mm-hmm. And then Imperium against the Undisputed Era. Like, all these matches are going to be great. This will be a very great show if you sit down and check it out. I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed with it. I just think so much to a show is the anticipation factor, and this feels nowhere near a takeover, but what you're getting is a quality card.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to be listening to reviews such as Braden and Davies to see what's worth watching, and it could be that the entire show is worth watching because I feel like
I bet it is.
None of these look like they're really going to be duds. At least not on paper.
It's the show I will definitely watch all of on Saturday night, whereas Bellator, UFC, it'll probably be just certain whatever I can fit in.
What do you anticipate in terms of attendance for this one? It's in the Toyota Center.
It's in the Toyota Center.
Yeah. Holds typically
the Toyota Center.
20?
It's under that, but a sizable amount. Like, this is a really big arena. I imagine it's going to be like curtained off.
Yeah, I think so too.
Probably by a bit. Like, it's just, to me, if you're going to do these Worlds Collide shows, they to me should be in like medium-sized markets and venues, like
or in the UK.
Or in the UK.
You know, like this card in the UK, I think would be seen as a much bigger deal, at least live. And on the network, it is what it is. But
like this in front of 2,000 people in the UK, I think would be it'd be a rabid crowd, and they would sell it out. And I think the takeovers, like piggybacking off the Big Four, I think that's typically a good mix.
yeah,
Except for extenuating circumstances like the Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving over to the Royal Rumble. Let's just rapid fire go through some of these matches, starting off with the recently announced United States title match, Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo.
yes. I don't see Carrillo really having any sort of push behind him for this program. I really,
You almost think they could have done that ladder match at this pay-per-view.
yeah. But then again, this will probably be a kickoff match, don't you think?
It could be.
So I just see it being, further push for Andrade. Maybe Carrillo gets something. I mean, the way these turn out, it almost always feels like they're just gonna set something up for Raw anyway. Between these two,
Maybe Zelina Vega gets involved somehow and this
Same
continues.
shit.
Because this is, to me, Humberto's going to be someone that's linked to Andrade for a while. This is, I don't think, going to be it.
I guess so.
I guess it depends if we're going to get back to Ray or not with that mask deal.
I just think it's a step down from Ray, for Andrade, unless they can find something really interesting for Carrillo in terms of a character. In terms of a
Humberto should have
storyline.
been playing Dominic.
Yeah, sure. And then what do you do with Dominic though?
Well, eventually you reveal Dominic's the real Dominic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you could tie it in with the Eddie thing somehow. Like Dominic was actually Eddie's kid.
Oh.
Carrillo is the real Dominic.
Like Humberto could pass as Ray's kid, I think.
I don't know. Yeah. So I don't see a title change at all. I don't even see really a finish, if I have to be honest.
Bayley and Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title. This is interesting because it's the first match they're going to, but it's been built up. Like they've been feuding since early December.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but we did have a weird break kind of in between, right? Maybe not so much for SmackDown, but yeah, okay. So Bayley versus Lacey Evans. This is, to me, is a bit of a weird feud. I mean, outside of what we feel about Lacey Evans right now, it really, I've been kind of amazed at how much of a backseat Bayley has taken to Sasha Banks, even though she's the one holding the title. It almost feels like Bayley is holding the belt for Sasha as Sasha takes center stage, because that really, like, Bayley is the heater for Sasha, even though she's the champion.
Lacey, I see them just going all the way with her. I don't know if that means winning the title this early, but
Not yet.
I could see a scenario, though, where Lacey loses here and then ends up being pretty prominently featured in the Rumble as well.
Yep.
Like, to me, of either brand at the moment, like, it feels like the big ones to watch are Lacey and probably Shayna Baszler as, like, your big, like,
Sure.
WrestleMania level opponents. I'm almost surprised Evans is going for the title at the Rumble.
Sasha is in the Rumble, right?
Sasha's in the
They
Rumble.
announced? You're right. Yeah. I mean, eventually the match they have to get to is Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks.
Yeah, because they teased that on TV and didn't deliver it, and
Well,
that could be Lacey winning here, even though that's kind of backwards.
It's
But
backwards, yeah.
but Sasha then going for the title. That's one direction you can see. I see at some point Lacey winning the title. The question is it Sunday or do we hold off on that?
Yeah. Ultimately, I think Lacey does not win the belt, but I think she can win the match here.
Win the match, but not the title.
Mhm.
So like some kind of
DQ
DQ
or something
count
like
out
that.
finish. Maybe a Steiner recliner and the question mark runs in.
Yes.
Sheamus is going to murder Shorty G.
Not necessarily.
You don't think so?
I don't think murder. Like in the backstage segment last week,
I think this is going 5 minutes.
we had Shorty G actually stand up to the bully. I think just to extinguish the feud in a squash match would be kind of pointless, don't you think?
I think Lacey Evans is going to come out and stand up for Shorty G against the bully, and it'll be Lacey Evans feuding with Sheamus while Shorty G hides behind Lacey.
Wow. I feel like they're not just gonna, kill Shorty G here,
I do.
even though it's a debut for Sheamus. I think I think Sheamus wins. I agree, but I don't think it's a complete squash.
This should be on the kickoff, probably.
Probably.
If we're looking at a 2-hour kickoff, that's probably 3 matches.
With the 2 Rumbles, yeah.
Roman Reigns and King Corbin. What's most interesting here is that this would probably mean you can't open up the main show with a Rumble. That this probably has to start the show, wouldn't
Why?
it? Because this is supposed to be before the men's Rumble.
Okay.
I guess you could do the Women's Rumble and then this, but
Mm.
I would almost think you want to get this out of the way first,
Right.
and then whatever angle you're doing coming out of this. I actually think this is going to turn out pretty well. I said that about the TLC match for the same reason. They had a stip to work around, so maybe I'm giving too much credit to Corbin here, but I think this will be okay, and I think going around a whole baseball stadium, there's a lot of unique stuff you can do.
I think Reigns has like had good Falls Count Anywhere matches in the past, and they'll come up with like big spots to make it entertaining throughout. And so I agree with you. I think this will be fun.
I think Corbin might win this.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Corbin wins it, so Roman is sort of at a disadvantage. I think that only adds fuel to like the potential of Reigns winning the Rumble if he loses this match.
You have two options. You could have Corbin, you could do some big angle here that like leads to Corbin winning, and he does as he says. Reigns doesn't get into the Rumble, and then you've always got the Elimination Chamber, and you have your feud with Corbin. Or as
I think
you
Reigns
said,
is going to be in the Rumble.
Reigns can come back, and he can either go far in the Rumble, or he could win the Rumble. You could do that. But I think you need to keep Reigns busy until Mania, and I think Corbin is going to be that guy until Mania.
Jesus, how many weeks has it been? How many months has it been now?
It's been since the draft, so that's October,
man.
right? Like they pretty much prepared from the get-go.
I could say it hasn't been awful. If you ask WH Park, I'm sure he'll tell you very different. But it can be worse. But I certainly, I don't want to say 3 months of it. That's too much of Reigns versus Corbin. But then again, who else is there on SmackDown?
Well, you could just set it up. Like, again, if Reigns somehow doesn't come out winning the Rumble, you could do these two in Saudi Arabia, and then you have the Elimination Chamber, and that can be Reigns winning that, and you, from there, get into WrestleMania. Many options you can go. I think everyone expects Reigns to be in that title picture for WrestleMania. It's just, how do you get there? And I can see the trepidation of putting him over in the Rumble, knowing past reactions that the audience, they could just, Reigns winning the Rumble might just trigger all those memories, and you don't want to have this. They've done a very good job with Roman Reigns over the past year, that they're at a point where I feel that they want to give him that rocket again, and deservedly so. Like, this is the top guy on SmackDown. Becky Lynch and Asuka for the Raw Women's title. Should be a good match as well, and I don't see much more anything complicated other than Becky avenging the loss. Like, I don't think you should overthink this one.
Becky avenges the loss. Can Asuka win, though? Let's think about that. She wins, continues to be the one person Becky Lynch can't beat. Sort of like the, what is it? Like Sonata Okada story. And they pay it off.
So you're telling me we're going to go 0-7 before these two meet in the G1?
Yeah, no, it's very unlikely, I would say here, given that Asuka also has a belt, and Becky Lynch is likely to hold that thing until the Mania. So, yeah.
Do you see either of these women ending up in the Rumble?
Yes, I do. If anything, just to be a part of it. Not the champion, of course, but I could see Asuka losing here and then being in there with Kairi.
Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan strap match for the Universal title. And yeah, this one, they had a very good match at TLC. I'm more optimistic about these two having a great match. If this was me, I so prefer the direction of SmackDown going into Mania with Bryan having the title, but I don't see that happening at all.
You mean him winning here?
Yes. Bryan winning, and it's Bryan and Reigns as your big SmackDown match.
I don't think you're just going to move on from the Fiend.
I don't think there's a chance they are. So
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that, but that would have been just my preference.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, can Bryan win this one? I feel like they need at least one title change, don't you think, on this show? Can Bryan win this? Let me think about that.
I just think honestly, it's such a better direction of like your two top guys in Bryan and Reigns. Like, it's not one has to be
What do
a
you
heel,
do with the Fiend, though?
one is a babyface. Well, again, like I'm not expecting
I guess
this
the Fiend
at all.
can win the Rumble.
Like, the Fiend, I would be putting him into some kind of attraction match with some other character of some sort. Like, yeah, maybe we can discuss too in the Rumble of any potential.
Shorty G.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I think this feud continues, and therefore I'm going to stick with the Fiend.
Another match out of this, you think?
I think so.
All right, let's start with the Women's Royal Rumble. Who they have announced so far, there's barely any. Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Natalya, Sarah Logan, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. My first question is anyone on that list winning? Basically, is Charlotte winning this or is someone else winning it?
I don't think so. I don't think Charlotte's going to win. She main evented last year at WrestleMania without that much fanfare, let's be honest. I'm going to say Shayna Baszler's my pick.
I think that's the same as me. I think everyone's expecting that.
Yeah, and that's not. It would still be a surprise, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
where would you debut her? How late in the match would you have her come in?
I'd say pretty late, like in the 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that would
save
be
her for a big surprise,
and just have
her kill everybody.
Just stare down at Becky the next night on Raw or anything. Like you can.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to go in this. I don't think you have to overthink it. There isn't on the SmackDown side, like whether it's Evans or Bayley. I guess Sasha is like your program. It just seems less intriguing options
on SmackDown.
Yes,
thus far. Yeah, sure.
Men's Royal Rumble. Much longer list here. So we've got Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, Eric Rowan, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Elias, Corbin, Ziggler, Heavy Machinery, Rusev, Lashley, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Braun Strowman, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, The New Day, R-Truth, The Miz, and John Morrison.
It's hard to pick this one, honestly. I mean, but obviously the front runners being Drew McIntyre, maybe first of all, would you say?
Yep.
Okay, he's number one. Who's number two?
To win the whole thing, Reigns.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Reigns.
I would say the short list would have to be Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns.
Cain Velasquez.
See, Cain Velasquez, I think, like he's pretty much all but said he's in this match. I think he's pretty much said he's in the match. I think he really needs to be rehabbed and have a big like monster spot. But I don't see him eliminating Brock. I can't see them.
Really?
I don't.
If he's in there and he doesn't eliminate Brock, then what's the point?
Ugh. I just think to reintroduce this guy and set him in a new direction.
Outside of Brock? So no interaction with Brock?
I don't think there's any.
If he's interacting with Brock, I think he's eliminating Brock Lesnar. Anything else would be seen as just a failure for him. He's better off not being in there.
Unless you're setting him up for another program.
With somebody else?
Yeah. Do you think that there's any mileage in that rematch at the moment?
I don't.
Even with an elimination? I think people are just...
I don't.
That was such a flat program and ending that that would not be my WrestleMania program.
I don't see it. At the same time, it could have been something they planned all the way back, you know, from, what is it, Super Showdown? Whatever that name of that pay-per-view was, that they just want to see through. I hope that's not the scenario, you know, especially for WrestleMania, especially for, you know, if you're going to use a vehicle like the Rumble, which would be so beneficial to somebody like a Drew McIntyre, and instead giving it to Cain Velasquez, I think that'd be a waste. So I'm going with Drew McIntyre, I think.
In terms of surprises, I'm just going to throw out names. No one's brought up The Undertaker. Do you think that The Undertaker at WrestleMania, that ship has sailed?
I think no. I think you could still see an Undertaker spot at WrestleMania. I don't.
But not a big match.
No, and therefore I don't think he's necessary here.
Cena.
John Cena.
I'm not expecting him.
I'm not expecting him either. Let's, once and for all. Edge, yes or no?
Edge? I think so.
Yes, eh?
I think he will.
Wow. That's pretty cool if it happens. I'm going to say yes too then. That'd be the big story, I think, coming out of this show.
What would you do with him in the match?
Brock Lesnar.
Eliminating Brock?
No, but at least like a face-to-face. And then who could you pair him with? I think a wide number of people. Obviously, you have it would have to be a heel, but I think he'd have some type of interaction with a Randy Orton. That'd be pretty cool.
Orton brought him up on TV a few weeks ago. They have the history. That one makes sense.
Trying to see on the heel side who they got here. Like, John Morrison, perhaps, would be interesting. Baron Corbin, I could see them doing something like that. Like, I wouldn't want to see it personally, but I could see them doing like a Baron Corbin Edge type of thing. Yeah.
I mean, what are the numbers that we've had? I mean, you can always 3.
AJ Styles Edge. would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know.
I think they've got 27 people announced here.
Yeah, so that
Providing they're all in, that's
doesn't leave a lot of
slots.
room for NXT.
Probably like one or two.
Yeah, I mean,
like when you throw in the surprise, you could always wipe out some of these people too that have been announced.
True.
I mean, if you need to make room for everyone. I think that this year, maybe you get one big surprise in the men's, and then the women's match is more of the NXT and other surprises.
Yeah.
Because that's the match that needs it.
Yep.
That's the match that needs those kinds of big entrances, whereas this one, you know, you've got a lot of different stories at play here, though the big one is it's Brock.
As long as you leave, like, you know, a satisfying show with some satisfying interactions, I don't think people will complain too much about, you know, not having a big... Like, if they have Edge, that I think will trump everybody. Because
that'll be the big story.
They didn't have anybody last year. It was just kind of NXT that were the surprises. So, who do you see coming from NXT if you had some slots for them?
Oh, you know, I'm not even a big fan. Like on the women's side,
on the men's side, because on the women's side, I don't
even know if I'd put anyone from NXT in here. There's no slots for it, and if you're just going to be there for one night, I'd almost put in someone that's not necessarily like I wouldn't waste like a Riddle in something like this, where he's just in there to be seen and then eliminated.
Right.
You see like a Goldberg showing up or anything like that?
No, I don't. I personally don't. I would say maybe a Velveteen Dream. Just to kind of get that big reaction, just to test him out.
If he's healthy and then he comes back here and then he's back on NXT and this is kind of just I'm back.
Give him a big elimination, you know?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Brock.
I mean, you could. That would be amazing. But no, they're not doing that.
It'll be interesting to see how well they position, like, the guys. Obviously, Drew's going to get a really big run in this thing. How's Aleister Black handled? Because he feels like he is 1B to Drew's 1A at the moment. And, you know, is Aleister Black like odd man out? Does he get something in this as well? Ricochet, you've done that deal with Brock. Like, does he get something with Brock? And I think they have to interact somehow here.
Yep.
Rey Mysterio is not announced. Oh, he is announced. He is announced.
Randy Orton and Drew, of course, as well.
That's right. They've got to pay that thing off.
Yeah.
Rusev and Lashley are in together.
Right.
So there's a lot of different. Seth Rollins, what do you expect him to have?
Seth Rollins, I mean, he's currently a tag team champion. Probably something with Owens and Joe. You know,
I'm way more intrigued with this men's Rumble, mainly because the women's thing, like, there's no stories going into it and no participants. It's I
find the men's Rumble pretty tough to predict. Actually,
the biggest story of the women's is the expectation that Shayna Baszler is showing up, and beyond that, I got nothing for the women's match.
Yeah,
I think the men's match closes the show.
Yeah,
I think it has to.
If you're gonna do the Reigns Corbin tease as well, yeah.
So, you think Kane is eliminating Brock, and you're picking who to win?
Cain
Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez. I'm not even so sure Cain Velasquez is going to be in this match.
If Kane's in, that's like 28 people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there's,
yeah. I sure, why not? Cain Velasquez does it.
Okay, and to win the whole thing?
Oh man, I'm gonna say Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna say Roman Reigns. You know, I'm gonna say Buddy Murphy wins it.
Okay, well, he is in this. That is the Royal Rumble coming up on Sunday night.
By the way, John, Dakota from Nunavut was somebody who once left some feedback for us.
Wow, that's. I thought he was making a joke at first about a coat in a cold place like Nunavut. So I was grasping at straws as well.
No.
I now recall this. That's a hell of a recall from Brandon from New Jersey. That is a deep reference.
That was him posting it. So.
Well, guys, thank you so much for all the calls tonight. This blew me away that we had so many listeners, so many people calling in.
So many people in the chat room. Thank you all so much for being here. Loved hearing from all of you. So,
well, we hope you enjoyed the show, all the reviews, all of the previews, all the feedback. So Saturday night, Brandon Davey will have a free show, Worlds Collide post-show. And then Sunday night, myself, Wai, and Mike Murray doing the Royal Rumble post-show. So we hope to see all of you back here as we will be taking your calls, discussing the Royal Rumble and Buddy Murphy winning the Rumble. Everyone's reaction. We will look forward to that. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great weekend.
Alrighty. Just gonna wait for this. 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's good though. Really good. Great calls.